Welcome to the Growth Minded Accountant podcast, where our experts will share best practices on running your firm in the digital age. This podcast is brought to you by CountingWorks Pro. Let's get started.
Well, welcome to another episode of the Growth Minded Accountant. My name is Reams, and today we're diving into what I consider a critical topic for every tax and accounting professional, and it is the client lifecycle. So we're going to define, I would say, what the client lifecycle is, why it's important if you're missing even one element of this, how it can kind of break the velocity of your growth. So from the first client interaction to long-term retention, understanding and optimizing each stage of this cycle is essential for your practice's growth and client satisfaction. So today, I know it's been a while, Rebekah, but I'm joined by our Chief Visibility Officer, Rebekah Barton. Please say hello before we jump into the conversation.
Hi, guys. Good morning. I'm excited to dive into this with you today.
Excellent. So before we go into it, it's like, okay, well, what is the client lifecycle? And basically, there's a bunch of ways. If you've gone to marketing classes, any college class, they'll have some certain definitions of it. We break it down and kind of how we've identified it for the tax and accounting space specifically. But basically, there are 5 key stages of the client lifecycle. So the first one is discover. The second one is convert. The third one is engage. The fourth one is advocate. And the fifth one is return. So each stage represents a unique opportunity to strengthen your client relationships and drive sustainable growth, right? So missing even one step can hinder that progress. And we're going to talk about how that might work. So let's start, Rebekah, with discover. And I think this is important just to kind of lay out, what does that mean, discover? You know, a lot of clients are referred to you. So what is that first glimpse at your firm? What is that first impression? You know, how can tax and accounting professionals effectively attract new clients in kind of the digital age? So if you can explain kind of some basics for what it means and why that first impression is so important, let's start there.
So this is something we talk about a lot on the podcast, Lee, and a lot of it comes down to your website, which is somewhere that CountingWorks excels. Your website in this day and age is really your digital storefront. You may not even have a physical office anymore, but the first thing people are going to see is kind of your website, your web presence. So with discovery, in the case of tax and accounting, it's really important to make a good impression, to show your expertise, to appeal to people right off the bat and show them how you can kind of solve their problems. So it's important to have, solid branding across the board, your social media, your website, mentions on other websites, just kind of that holistic web presence that's going to make a really good impression on people, show them that you're modern, you're up to date, you understand the internet, and you understand how today's clients are really finding service providers, especially in the financial space.
And it's just not how they're finding, but how they're referring people as well.
Yeah.
So, for example, you have a great client who loves you. They want to refer you, but they go to your website and they're like, it's still 10, 15 years old. It's not really speaking to anybody. And, they're kind of hesitant to perhaps refer them, or even on social media. If you don't have a social media presence, if someone clicks on your brand name and you have a social, for example, Facebook, it would automatically hyperlink to your social site, and it makes it very easy for you to refer. And also gives the person referring more confidence that they're not going to be embarrassed, right? So you're taking a lot of risk out of it. And then the secondary thing is, so that's kind of the referral example, but the second one is just purely digital leads. How can I optimize my site across all these different funnels now that I rank higher than my competition? I want to get highly qualified people to find me, and then, hopefully start the discovery stage, which is what we're going to kind of really jump into as we go. So, all right, now they've found you. There's a couple things in Discover that I think we need to talk about. And what that is when you're creating content, people on the Discover stage may not be an intent buyers right out the box. So they might just be aware they have a problem. Maybe they're considering. So let's say, let's just go back up a little bit. So I have a problem. My cash flow is horrible. I'm not very organized. I realize I try to do it all DIY. So what do? I say, how do I improve my cash flow? So I Google that term. It's kind of a long-tailed term, and content that's written around that. And if you were an expert and you were writing blog articles that were being indexed well, your articles will now show up. And that's where it's kind of, okay, that's the first stage. So when I read through that, that might be the first stage. The second stage is, okay, I already went through there. I've met your firm because I read your blog article, but it's now the consideration stage. So I might write, find me a CPA or an enrolled agent in such and such to help me with my cash flow. Now that's a consideration phase. So you want to create content around each element of this. So kind of explain that to Rebekah as far as how Google ranks content, and based on what stage you are is what content they're going to show.
Yeah, so Google, obviously the algorithm in this day and age is very intelligent. It understands the intent of your content. So one thing I wanted to bring up during this particular part of the conversation are content clusters. Because when you create a content cluster surrounding a particular topic, and in this case, cash flow management, you can throw it into AI, or if you know the topic really well, you can come up with the content cluster on your own. But usually somewhere between 8 and 10 pieces of content surrounding a specific topic are considered a cluster. If you have a content cluster around cash flow management or improving your cash flow, you are very, very likely to hit on all three of these phases: awareness, consideration, and conversion, without doing a lot of extra work, because you're already creating that cluster that establishes you as an authoritative thought leader. Think about long tail keywords. Lee, you've brought up a few of them. How can I improve my cash flow? Write things surrounding those key terms, include those key terms in your content. Google is going to look for things that address those intent searches. So if you're answering questions related to cash flow management, related to how to improve cash flow, you're automatically going to start establishing authority for yourself just by virtue of thinking through, what do these people need to know, and answering those questions in your posts.
Right. And then just to further this kind of examples of how do I improve my cash flow would be, let's say, the first query someone would do. The second one might be, should I DIY my own accounting or hire an accountant to help my cash flow? So now you're understanding those should be two separate pieces of content. They're going to have someone at a different stage in their, as they're going through their discovery side. And then each side of your content kind of speaks to it, and it will rank. And that's what Rebekah's talking about as far as the content cluster. If you're hitting each one of these search terms, your content's going to rank, and you're going to walk your lead or your prospect through. So now we get into the conversion stage, right? So once you've attracted these potential clients, what is the next step? Is we want to convert them to become a paying client, right? So how do we do that? We've hopefully started building trust. That would have been happening already if it was a referral from a trusted friend or colleague, if they have been engaging in your content. And more importantly, like as we said, what did that website look like? Do you have 5-star reviews? Do you show case studies on your website? Are you demonstrating the clear value of your proposition? So let's talk a little bit about what are some of the best practices to ensure a smooth conversion process, right? So I always say, think transparent pricing. So take the unknown. You don't want to go in a black hole. I don't know what they charge. Is it an hourly rate? What is this going to cost me? If you're very clear, you're already starting to differentiate yourself from the people that don't want to pay your rate, and you're publishing your rates right away. They'll be scared away. They're not going to waste your time. The people that see value are used to buying a Mercedes or something like that, and you're a higher price firm. They see your pricing, they're more likely to think, well, this person must know what they're talking about if they're charging a premium, right? So that would be kind of option one. I would suggest doing personalized proposals, and what I mean by that is tools like our AI assistant. You can literally write a proposal based on, what is their background? Are they a high net worth person? Are they an attorney? Do they own a business? Are they a dental firm? And you can actually personalize the proposal to speak specifically to that prospect versus having 3 generic, here's our virtual CFO proposal. Here's our tax planning proposal. Here's our accounting proposal. If we can now personalize this to the user, and it's the same thing. I'll give an example. I've used this before, but Starbucks, when they started personalizing the coffee by putting your name on the label, people felt, hey, I'm really getting custom coffee here. And that's when Starbucks started to really take off. So it's really important as far as the marketing and the psychology behind it, make it easy for them to pay you. And now I'm going to get into some more Rebekah type things. So talk about calls to action. What are CTAs? We always talk about them. Why do they make a difference, and how you use them in your marketing material to get more leads to convert?
Yeah, so it goes back to psychology once again. A lot of marketing is psychology, right? And a lot of digital marketing is psychology. So a CTA is a call to action, as you mentioned, and it is asking a person to take some sort of step or to engage with your content or engage with your firm in some way. Calls to action can differ. If you're on, let's say, a landing page for something and they want you to give them their email, the button might say something like get started now. Or if there's a free download involved, it might say, download for free now before the lead form pops up. There's all different kinds of calls to action. So you're going to want to think through exactly what you want this person to do, whether it's give you an email address, fill out a form, call you, and you're going to want your CTA to address that exact action that you want them to take. You may have to try some different things. A lot of CTAs involve A/B testing, especially online. So you may try one landing page with one call to action and another landing page with another call to action. See which one gets you more leads. So there's a lot you can do with calls to action. They can make a huge difference. The right CTA can really influence people to engage with you, to either download something and give you their information as a lead magnet, or to give you a call, to send you an email, whatever it is you want them to do.
Yeah, and what we have found, I think the biggest error is the CTAs, or they're not prominent. They're kind of like lost inside. So when someone is on a website or reading an email, you want two max, one strong CTA. You can repeat CTAs up top and below, because especially on mobile devices, when people are scrolling through, they may not be ready to convert at the top, but they kept reading your copy at the bottom. They're like, yeah, I want to do this. And then they can't find the CTA. So you just want to make it a little bit easier. All right. So now we've gotten clients to engage. We sent out this great proposal. They signed up for our virtual CFO services. They're paying us, $2,000 a month. And this is awesome. So now how do I improve the client experience from this point on? So this is our third stage, and that's the engagement stage. So, whether you're doing tax prep, whether you're doing tax planning, or, IRS tax problems or whatever, it's important to, I think, maximize the convenience factor. No one likes doing taxes. No one likes paying taxes. To be honest, no one likes really to do books other than accountants, right? It's kind of like a necessary evil, so to speak. So, how can we give them that Apple, that Amazon experience throughout as a tax and accounting pro? So, creating an engagement process that is automated, that streamlines the process for both you and your client, is going to increase satisfaction. So when I talk about these are examples of digitizing almost everything. So the proposal signed off. What is next? The engagement form should kick off right away. I can e-sign it. That makes it easy for me. All right. So if I had set this up with a proposal that automatically kicks out my engagement form, I've saved myself some time and money as well. It automatically did it. I didn't have to have somebody, we just got the payment. Now we need to send the engagement form. I've already created it. It already kicked out, right? So someone signs your engagement letter. They're a virtual CFO client. They're a new one. Well, you probably want to have some sort of intake process. So what kind of information should I gather from that new client that will make it easier for me to start the conversation? So, maybe a 10 question, 20 question, whatever, intake form. You can do digital questionnaires. You can add to-do lists to this. You can even communicate kind of your Kanban board through your client portal. There's a lot of ways to really improve your engagement thing. So one of the things that I like to do is tell people to kind of version it. And with AI, and Rebekah, if you can kind of add to this, with AI, you can easily make custom versions of all this and make, nice workflows. But what would you suggest as far as the engagement process from kind of the benefit from the client, not just from a time savings, but what do you see as the biggest selling point for a firm to really optimize this side in their practice?
So I think you've hit on a lot of really great things already in this section, but just to kind of jump off of what you were saying about personalization, in this day and age, people want everything to be custom, right? People feel more engaged with a firm. We're getting bombarded with advertising from every company under the sun all day long. We're so inundated. sending out generic things just isn't going to cut it. So if you're putting in that tiny bit of extra effort, if you're using AI to customize everything, to personalize every engagement you have with your clients, that can go a really, really long way toward getting them to these final two stages, which are advocating and then returning for the long term. So I think personalization is really important because it just shows that you care, and it shows that you're paying attention and they're more than a number when they choose your practice.
Yeah, and also by doing kind of a building out your engagement processes. So whatever you're doing, digitizing one step or all of these steps, what we see is it also makes you more responsive. And the number one kind of one-star review we hear about accountants is they're not responsive. They don't return my emails. They don't move the process. They don't communicate as we're working. We know you're super, super busy, so let's let technology do a lot of this. And if you've done it successfully, you're going to be in the advocate side, and creating an army of advocates is the best thing ever, right? So, what happens? Satisfied clients will start referring more business to you. If you're in a particular vertical, they're going to hopefully refer people just like them. What happens there? You can command higher fees. You're going to spend less time with clients. It's going to be easier to convert them. So there's a lot of reasons that you want to do this. So in addition, it also helps boost your reputation overall, right? So the more advocates you have, the more people talking you up, you're going to attract more business. And especially in these verticals, because like in anything, people go to a trade show or they go to forums online and they talk, right? So what are some of the steps, Rebekah, that you can take to encourage clients to share the positive experience? And this is getting into asking them for referrals, getting case studies done. This is incredibly powerful. What do we do for our clients, and why do you think it's so important?
Yep. So we do a lot of this. It is important. I call testimonials your secret weapon as an accountant, particularly in the finance space. Whenever people are going to be giving you access to their money or information about their personal finances, they have to be able to trust you. It's way more important than if you're, going through a fast food drive-through. They need to be able to trust the person that they're giving their information to. So that's part of why this social proof, these testimonials, these referrals, they matter so much in tax and accounting. So one thing we do at Accounting Works, we have pre-built review campaigns. One thing I hear from clients all the time is that they don't know how to ask for a review. They get nervous. It makes them a little bit, uncomfortable to ask somebody to leave them a 5-star review. We've done the hard part for you. You can just send out a pre-written review request, link straight to your Google business profile, and watch the reviews kind of roll in. Another thing we offer, is help. We offer help. We can help you guys come up with ideas. We can direct you to different websites that aren't Google, where you might be able to garner more reviews or get your name out there, find more people who are willing to kind of leave you these reviews. We have a lot of clients who are using Yelp. And while we don't manage Yelp, we can definitely kind of assist you with helping you understand how to best utilize a Yelp profile or a Better Business Bureau profile or things like that. There are just so many places online that you can build credibility and not be afraid to use those pre-built campaigns that we have to help your clients leave you the review that they want to leave you. And as for referrals, you can offer referral incentives. If someone refers a client, we have clients who do things like offer $50 off on their next month of bookkeeping services or whatever the case may be, just for a referral. So you can kind of have some incentives there as well, just to encourage people to send their friends and family members your way.
Yeah, I mean, a takeaway from that too, in the referral side, is some of our most successful firms, some bigger firms, they actually gamify it internally. So they make it a process where, let's pretend you have 15 staff members and you put them into pods of 5, and you do kind of an internal referral contest and have a prize. So the team wins a cash something. It incentivizes the entire company to be referral based or to think about referrals when they're doing things. And that's been a very successful strategy that we have seen play out. In addition, just asking for referrals, you said, Rebekah, some people feel uncomfortable. We have it built in. So if you do through that kind of engage process, the last item that you can add when you've finished a successful engagement is automatically sending an email to ask for reviews. And it's been highly effective. Google likes fresh reviews, and repeated reviews, right? And they like it to be organic. So yeah, they kind of frown upon asking for them, but the reality is, let's be real. If you're not doing it, you're not going to be in the business. So it's kind of important. So now let's talk about a little bit more now on returning. So what do we mean by returning? So we're trying to create lifelong clients for you, lifelong client relationships for you. We want them to trust you. And to do that, so after you've been successful, how do you garner and reinforce that, right? That we're here for you, that we're really your partner in this. I would say the client newsletter is one of the most important things that you do, and having a presence on social media. And the reason I'm saying that is it's free advertising. It's basically keeping your name in front of your clients year round. So even if they're not engaging some of your posts, they're receiving your newsletter. We have over 30% plus read rates on the client newsletters. We've had clients that get so much business from the newsletters that when they go on vacation, they're like, turn it off. I can't have it on when I'm on vacation. So it 100% works. It's probably the easiest thing you can do is sending out a timely monthly newsletter, being on social media. But what the idea here is, these are all areas where your client doesn't feel, I just paid them and then they're gone, right? So you're proactively pushing out information to them. A lot of this is revolving around life events. And Rebekah, I want you to explain kind of why life events and life event marketing is so important. In the tax world, a lot of people think, oh, it's tax season, I see my clients one time a year. The reality is life events occur year round, and they don't care when April 15th is. And if you are not proactively telling clients, hey, if this happens, you need to do this, and kind of really positioning yourself as a tax planning expert, you're going to lose out. Well, your services are going to be as good, but you're also going to lose out on all kinds of revenue opportunities. So kind of explain how we go about kind of the life event marketing and creating content.
Yeah, so we offer a lot of pre-built campaigns for starters that are directly in your portal. They're in your email. You can send them out very easily. And I think, like Lee said, thinking about just staying top of mind all year long, because money matters 12 months a year, not for 1 week in April when they drop off their stuff and expect you to turn around their tax return in 7 days, right? So it's very, very important to remind people the birth of a child, kids going to college, empty nesters, buying a second home. There's all sorts of different things that can happen over the course of a year that can really impact your finances and ultimately your tax situation. So by sending out these campaigns, by just reminding people, hey, if you did this summer, if you bought a vacation home for this summer, you need to get with me. We need to talk. If your kid graduated this April, we need to talk. If you left a business or started a business, if you're working from home now, all these different things can affect their taxes. Home office deduction. There's so many different things that can happen at any time of year. And so we try to make it easy by adding new campaigns all the time. So you can just very easily, with literally 1 or 2 clicks of a button, stay in the top of your clients' inboxes, remind them that you're there for them, that you're a partner, that you're not a commodity, that you're not just there, in April, that you're there all year long to help them and to make sure that their finances are as good as they can be.
Yeah, and then part of what Rebekah is talking about, so we have not only the content marketing style, but we also have upsell campaigns that could take, for example, an hourly bookkeeping client who you think, oh, they'll never become a virtual CFO. Well, if you've done a great job, if you have really shown the benefits of their investment with you, sending out an upsell campaign, we have them built for all kinds of different scenarios, can take a large part of, let's say if you have 50 business clients, you get 10 or 20 of them to go from an hourly rate to $1,500 or $2,500 a month. You paid for, our subscription for Counterfeits Pro in a second, right? So I think these are kind of the things we're talking about. So not only keeping them for life, but perhaps upselling them and getting them higher up in the kind of the amount of work and amount of trust they do for you. So I think we've gone through this. We try to break it down fairly quickly, or simply and quickly, I guess. But I do want to make sure you understand if you're missing just one step here. So you're not asking for reviews, for example. Guess what's going to happen? You're not going to rank as high. You're not going to convert as much. You're not going to be able to charge as much because people aren't going to come in trusting you, right? So that's just one example. Not digitizing the client engagement process. If you're not, at some point, clients get upset. This is too much work for me. What the hell? I can go to someone else that's doing this, that's using technology and making it easier for me. That is a reason they could churn. So, those are kind of the examples. So what I would suggest from the takeaways from this podcast. Look at your current processes. Identify any gaps you have, any staffing training that you need to do, and then focus on enhancing each stage. Use AI. So use tools like our AI assistant. If you have never used any of AccountingWorks Pro, you can use our AI tool in the TaxBuzz site. So taxbuzz.com has a free trial. You get 50,000 tokens and go in there and just play around. You could actually build out your own life cycle, and it could give you examples and how to improve things, and just ask it questions, and it will really kind of fine tune what you're doing. So I think the biggest thing is here, let's improve our the way we do business, and more important, the client satisfaction. I think this is really going to bridge the gap between you and your competition. As more and more pros are so busy, their heads are spinning, they're just neglecting a lot of this. And if you just spend a little bit of time, you will be the big winner, versus kind of some of them that are just drowning and they're, not using all this technology. They're doing their old paper-based things and they just cannot keep up. So that's going to be a wrap for today's podcast. Hopefully, you've learned something, a couple takeaways here or there, and hopefully you can get a lot. So thank you again for joining us for this latest episode of the Growth Minded Accountant. Until next time, keep growing your practice with a client-centered approach. We look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.